Welcome back to the Men's Roundtable podcast. We are back in the business again. Good to see you guys in the house, man. We are have a good time tonight. Before we get into the topic for today, just because some folks are watching and listening for the first time, take a quick moment, be as brief as you can. Let them know who you are. You can tell them what you do, and tell them why you're excited about this podcast, man. Go ahead. Popcorn style. Whoever's up first, go for it.
All right, I'll go ahead and break the ice.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Nick Ferloni. I'm here outside of Philly, and I'm a 13-year Army veteran, and then now I work in ministry as well. And I have my coaching business for men for both life and finances as well. And that's what I'm doing.
Good stuff, Nick. Thanks. Next.
I'll go. My name's Adam Fierstein. I run Brand AF, which is Brand Adam Fierstein, and we focus on Christ consciousness.
Love it. Thank you, Adam. Next.
I'll go next. John Janakis. I am in Charleston, South Carolina. Yusef and I see each other every Sunday morning.
Yes,
And my wife and I are ordained ministers, and we minister to marriages.
All right. Thank you, John. Next.
Well, I'm Rod Corbett, also from the Charleston area. I see Mr. Yu and John every Sunday morning as well. I've been working in the environmental area for about 20 years now. And I'm an aspiring author, like motivating people and young men just to bring the best out of each other.
I love it. Thank you. Who's up next?
I'll go.
It's down to Michael T.O. Ain't no more options.
Nah, T.O.'s the best. So I'm saving let's save the best for last. But my name is Mike Stevenson. I'm with Bremen Brand. It's a branding agency and marketing agency out of New York. And we help people find their voice and find the right people to hear that voice while still helping out the youth. Every percentage of every dime that we get goes back to youth organizations to help them grow and nurture them because they are the future. So grow the business, grow your community.
Love it. T.O.
How y'all doing out there? I'm Timothy T.O. Clay, the owner of Light Bulb Lessons. What is light? Love, intellect, greatness, health, and truth. And I'm a leadership coach. You know, I'm a 25-year retired United States Marine Sergeant Major, retired from the Marine Corps. And I said, man, I want to continue to do what I've always done, and that's lead. And we help individuals develop as leaders in the home, workplace, and community. So excited to be here with you fellas tonight. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, brother. Appreciate that so much. Man, look, this podcast, and I know that you guys already get it. You either watched it or you've been a part of the panel before. You get this. This is a safe space for us, so we just talk about it. I don't know how deep we're going to get from month to month. It just happens. This is a monthly show, so we kind of just come back every month and we talk about issues that are germane to men. And this relationship one is a tough one, man. So I want to take as much time as we need to kind of flatten this out and kind of get some insights into this, maybe perhaps help each other and those that are watching and listening. So I want to get into this. I know that as men, we got to develop strong and healthy relationships. It's important, but we struggle with the whole idea of that. We struggle with partnerships. We even struggle with the family dynamic. And we are here on social media lying, and I'm just kind of tired of seeing it. I'm like, that's not what's happening. I mean, no, I mean, folks personally, like, you lying. It's not what it is. And because you're not working, it's worse. It's one thing to say, you know what, I want to speak positive and not negative about my situation. That's one thing. Speaking in faith is not a problem. But when you ain't doing no work to go with the faith, that's the problem. So I want to get into the whole relationship idea, how we create healthy relationships, how we maintain them, and hopefully somewhere near the end, kind of get some ideas from you guys on what you did to overcome that, what you're still working on, things like that. Before we do that, we got some people that's jumping in the comment section. Sharon's in the house talking about T.O. Hey, man, it's the only person you see on the whole panel is T.O. That's all you see? No worries.
I'll get him, you. I'll get him for that.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good. Thank you, Sharon. Thanks, Sharon. The Low Life Show. My guy right there. Thank you for your service, gentlemen, in both the U.S. military and the Army of God. Your contributions are valued. That's Dustin Largusa, man, a.k.a. DL. Low Life Podcast is a fantastic show, man. Check it out when you get a chance. But let's go ahead and jump in, man. Oh, we got it. Okay. Chat. Can you do a quick introduction real quick, man? We already did them already. Can you do it real quick?
Hello, everyone. My name is Felice Matthew. I am a Christian counselor, chaplain, and consultant. And basically, we help couples, leaders, and organizations communicate effectively, fairly, and respectfully. How y'all doing, man?
Good, man. Good to see you again, brother. BC in the house said, "What's good, brothers? Good to see you, Brian. Thank you for jumping in, man." All right, so here we are. We'll be kicking it off, man. Let me start off with a question. Why do you think it's hard for men to express emotions in relationships? Let's start there. I ain't got no Jeopardy music, man, so you're on your own.
I thought you were gonna start easy.
Oh no, it gets a little bit more difficult, but it's gonna be fun. Go ahead.
I kind of prepared a little bit.
Never had a doubt.
You know, one of the things that I think as men, we resonate in very general terms, but we resonate with the word respect more than we resonate with the word love. I think love is something that women desire a lot more because they look at it as feelings and security and provision towards them and all of that. That is love. For us, it's respect. And we want respect. I think if our woman turned around and said, "Honey, not only do I love you, I respect you," that would go so far already. I mean, when another guy tells you, "Hey, man, I love you," like that's just like, give me a high five, like whatever. But you say, "Man, I respect you," that goes so much further in the depths of a man's heart. And there's a level that we will go to ends of the earth to make sure that we gain respect versus gaining love. So I think that plays a dynamic, and I'm just going to throw that right into the middle right there and work off of that.
Right. Well, before anybody jumps in, real quick, I want to ask you a question about that because I'm not challenging, I'm just asking the question. Why do you think it's like that? Is that something that we can turn around? Do we want, I mean, I think we do want love, but it's not, doesn't seem to be higher on a priority list, you're thinking, or it's just?
I think it's the way we're wired. I think it's the way that God has wired us in our typical roles, the way that, men more often than women will identify ourselves by what we do and then how well we do it. And so respect really goes hand in hand a lot with that. Love is a lot more. Women are desiring that family nature and home and everything. And of course, these are all very general terms. I've definitely met women that are very career driven and all of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think in a very general aspect, it's the way that God has designed both of us to complement one another. And so when we have respect in the home, then one of the byproducts of that is that we give love to our wives. And so, and that going together right there kind of works out. I don't know if I said that the best, but I hope you got the idea.
I agree with you, Nick. I think also that respect speaks to, supports, and really funds leadership. Mm-hmm. And God did wire us to be the leaders in our household and leaders in our communities. And I think when a woman respects a man and other people around us respect us, it speaks directly to the accomplishment of what our birthright, in part, not all of it, but in part, speaks to.
Well, I think it's also the love language, right? Like you touched on it, Nick, when you said, they identify it with feelings and emotions, and we identify it with respect. So part of the language that we speak, what we associate love with, in your terms, in which I agree with, is partially respect, and that's how we identify that form of love.
And I agree with everyone. I really think it is big about respect. Initially, I would say we were wired that way or we were conditioned that way. But when you say God made us that way, it made me think, and I thought about the scriptures. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong or point me in the right direction. But I always see where he says, "Husband loves your wives," but then he says, "Wives respect your husband." I'm trying to remember where it says, wives, love your husband. I remember him saying, respect your husband. So even from the beginning, I believe that's the way it was supposed to be, that we actually view respect as love. Because I'm more of the don't talk about it, be about it type person. So you can tell me you love me all day long, but if I don't feel the respect or I don't see it, then those are just words. It means absolutely nothing to me. So, but like you said, it's just scripturally, I'm thinking I've only seen where he said respect your husbands. I'm not seeing where, I don't remember where it said love your husband.
There's that's a good point that you brought up. There's a scripture in there that says love your husband, but not in the agape love. There is no commandment for a wife to love their husbands with the agape love. But that command is given for a man to love their wives with the agape love, which to me kind of implies, at least in my belief, that women don't really have to be taught that. I mean, they could carry life, right? What are we
Right.
going to do that's going to have that type of love, right, in their bodies? But yeah, I think it is. It's a testament to what you said. It was actually a study on it where they asked 1,000 men, 1,000 women, would you rather be loved, not respected, or respected and not loved? Generally speaking, most men said respected and not loved, and most women said loved and not respected. So I think is yeah, I think there's a lot of, I guess, philosophical and practical evidence that kind of points to that scripture you mentioned. I'm gonna go completely at a different angle, guys. I'm going at a different angle. Sometimes it is difficult for men to express their emotions because some women weaponize the information that they have of their men. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm Haitian American. I'm not known for being tactful. That's not what our culture is known for. But I'm just gonna throw it out there. Yes, I get beat up on social media all the time when I give both sides. But look, I just call it like I see it. Because in my belief, all have fallen short of the glory of God. So that all includes both men and women. We often find women talking about bad leaders. We often don't find people talking about bad followers. So my point in saying is that a lot of times men don't open up because of what some women has caused. They weaponize that information to control, to manipulate, to dictate. And if you love me, you'll do X, Y, and Z because, hey, you did X, Y, and B for this and that. So a lot of times, and I'm not saying that women are the only ones that, weaponize information. I'm just saying that that is a factor. We've been burnt by the information that we've opened up to it. And now we're not going to say, oh, I'm going to open up twice as hard next time. No, we say, oh, so that's what happens when I open up. Got it. Right. So that's one reason. That's one reason. Now there are some women who are cherish that information and never leak it out, and there are some women who is worthy of you opening up that way. I'm just saying that there are some women too that don't have the best intentions with that emotion that you've released to them, and that I think that needs to be talked about more.
Fair. Who's up next?
It's actually something I struggled with for a long time, being able to express my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, and not just to women, to anybody. And I think in many cases, we take from our examples, our parents primarily. And if our fathers were expressive, if they expressed emotions, if they expressed their feelings, then in many cases we might follow that example. But being the gray-headed guy on this panel, I'm a bit old school. My father was even more old school. We didn't say what we felt. We just stiff upper lip. We grinned and bared it. We took all the pressure. We internalized it, and that almost ruined my marriage. It almost completely ruined my marriage, because you know how my wife interpreted that as indifference. She thought I didn't care about our relationship. She didn't think I cared enough about her to let her know what I was going through, what I was feeling. That I was just doing life on my own. And based on her upbringing, she had a very indifferent father as well, who committed suicide when she was 13. So she pretty much grew up without a dad. And so she had some abandonment issues. And what did I do? I didn't tell her what I thought. I didn't tell her how I felt. I didn't express myself. So she felt that that was like abandonment. So it can really torpedo us if we don't. And I had to learn that. And over time, I have learned to be able to share with my wife what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, the pressure I'm under, you know, how I felt about her, how I felt about all sorts of things. It transformed our relationship. That was really missing. So I think it can be very common, although I agree with what all you gentlemen have said as far as, you know, that tends to be our nature as men, but that's something that we got to overcome. We really have to overcome if we want to have relationships. Or you can be a solo rider out there, right? And just try and go it alone. But that is not biblical. It really is not biblical. So I'll say that I've overcome, and I continue to work on it. But I think it can really torpedo relationships if we don't.
John, I think the only reason why you think that you're the oldest one here with the gray hair is because I got all my hair cut off. I'm just going to start that and just say that. But that
I'm naturally youthful looking, so that's why he thinks that he doesn't even know how old I am.
See what I'm saying? And then Nick's got the salt and pepper look. It looks good on him. So I can't give you the credit of saying that you're the most individual in this room. But what I will say is that I do agree. You know, I've been married now for 15 years, and I've been with my wife for
Congrats, man.
no, thank you, for about 20 something odd years. But like everybody else, you know, you have your ups, you have your downs, and I always struggle to be able to clearly communicate my feelings because just like every other man in here, you know, you're taught like that's not something that we do. Like your job is to nurture and to lead your household. And, you know, feelings that's on her, not on you. And you're right. Like every time that I try to open up, it feels like Mr. Chaplin said, like, you know, kind of like a trap. Like you say like, oh, I feel this. And then the next thing you know, you shouldn't feel that. And why do you feel that? And are you saying that it's my fault? And then all of a sudden, like it becomes this blown out argument. I just said 1 + 1 = 2. And now we're in a fight. Right. And I think in our nature, we try to avoid that because it's not necessary. Like we didn't even want to open up. We just wanted to stay firm, and we did it so that we could respect our wives and try to open up communication. And then we get that. Ah! You're just like, oh, I don't even know where that came from. Like it's just like the sneaky under you know hit. But that's on me. Like I don't know if you guys can agree on that.
I agree exactly with the chaplain too. I have a wife and 4 daughters, all of whom are now adults. I've watched them weaponize men, expressing themselves. It's been weaponized against me probably in the last 2 hours. Absolutely, it happens. The question, though, is, and one of the things that we talk about all the time is we have this little mantra. It seems kind of oversimplified, but it's fear shrinks, love grows, gratitude powers everything, right? And so the reason why we break it down that way is like, okay, your wife, you've opened up, you've become vulnerable. Your wife recorded that in a way that only women can. And 3 years later, when you have long since forgot about it at all, here it comes, and it comes in the form of a smack in the side of the head. So then the question becomes, when you react to that, is it fear or love, right? If we're afraid of that now, maybe we don't like to admit that, but if we're going to shrink, if we're going to withdraw that information, if we're not going to be vulnerable in front of our wives, then our world has shrunk, our relationship has been severed on some level, or at least it's got a little bit of distance that didn't exist before. So I would propose the question, fully admitting that happens regularly. Clearly, I haven't solved that as a problem. I think it's inherent. And so there isn't necessarily a solution to keep it from happening. But then how do we respond to that? What do we do to keep the channels open, to keep the separation from occurring, but respond to it with leadership, respect, kindness, but also firmness to the degree that, try as you may, that's not going to force me into fear, and it certainly isn't going to force me to shrink. Just an idea.
Okay. I want to speak into what you're saying there, because I agree with you. You're 100% on that, and it's still a learning process, and I'm growing through it. But one of the things, since we're in the nitty gritty and we're talking about actual like marriage and relationships,
That's what we do, baby.
One of the things that that has helped me with that is, for one, I had to learn to stop being so defensive. Number one. Then number two, I had to realize, as far as on my end, you have to be careful. It's not always what you say, but it's very, very, very important how you say it. And when you understand your wife's love language and you begin to learn her love language, you learn how to communicate certain things. Like I said, it's still a work in progress for me. Then the third part of that is, once you basically get rid of the defensiveness, this is your wife. And if you've chosen correctly, you have to understand that some things are going to come and it's going to hurt, but iron sharpens iron. And if you know how iron is sharpened, that's very rough sometimes. And we all have some rough edges that sometimes have to be smoothed over. So some of the things she may hit you with, okay, are you doing this to tear me down, or are you doing this to help build me? And 9 times out of the 10, like I said, if you've chosen right, your wife is there to help build you. That's what she does. Whatever you give her, she's going to multiply it. So, like I said, it's still a work in progress, but that's what has changed my mindset on it. And then just like John said earlier, not opening it up, it has a way to torpedo your relationship. So it's something that, yeah, we may have been conditioned this way. Yeah, certain things that we're wired, but we can't use that as an excuse. The question is, do you want to grow? Do you guys want to build an empire, or do you just want to be a one man on an island? Basically, is what I would say. But I just wanted to speak to that.
Good stuff, Rod. Good stuff. All right, we got a question on the floor from DL. Nick, are you speaking to that, or are you speaking about something else? Either way, it's fine. Just
it's kind of both. I do want to address what we see on the screen down here. Do you fellas think that it's possible that we are so focused on self that we just expect the other sex to read our minds and respond how we want? And also in the context of what we were talking about, I think that there's like a happy medium. Completely shutting off and not speaking to our wives and letting them know what's in our mind and in our thoughts and feelings and all of that can be detrimental, right? But I think that there's also a reverse side of that. If we turn into a waterfall and just start dumping everything, oh, this happened when I was 3, like everything on them, they're also going to turn around and be like, what did I marry? Like, there's a level they don't want all of that. And we need to find a different avenue to dump some of that stuff. That's not, our wife does not want everything. They may want some of it at the moment. And so there is a level that I think we do have to be smart of. What is something that our wife is going to take on and hear and understand and get in context? And then what do we not need to dump on her? Because she's got her own stuff and everything, and how much are we going to dump on her shoulders? And so there's like a weird medium. What the answer is, I don't know. And I think in every situation you got to find that for yourself. But that's why we need to have brothers. Iron sharpens iron, right? As you brought up. And that's so important. Iron and iron, not iron and copper, right? Which is a softer metal, right? It's still metal, but it's softer. It doesn't work that way. So you need another brother that you can go to and, hey man, I'm going through all of this and it's not something I want to dump on my wife, right? You can let her know surface level, but maybe like in the deep stuff, that's where you need another brother that you can really trust in and get manly feedback on, like, hey bro, we got this. Let's tighten this up, whatever, don't project that on your wife, all that kind of good stuff. And so I'm just in the middle on that. With respect to, do we think that she's going to read our minds? I think that we do sometimes internalize it that way, because that's a fear that we always have. Like, it's like they expect us to read their mind a lot. And that's a lot of our frustration. Like, they won't say no. They'll just pout away somewhere. And like, what was that mean? Was that at the kids or was that at me? Like, what is going on? I can't read her mind. but they expect it because they're like, I don't want you to do the dishes. I want you to want to do the dishes, or something like that. Like, I want you to want to do that. And it's like, but I don't, but I will do it, but I don't want to. And you want me to want to do, wait a minute, what? I'm lost, kind of. And I think because we see them do that to us, then we reverse it in a way, I think sometimes as well. Like, I need her to nurture me and do all this kind of thing. And there's a level of like, no, she still wants you to be the man, to be the provider, be the stable rock for the house. And so if you just come in there and go, oh, this happened when I was 3 and I just can't handle it. My boss yelled at me today, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And she just go, are you okay? Do I need to call one of your friends? Because I can't handle it. There's a level we don't need to dump everything on them. And then there's a level that we do need to inform them so that they don't act or, just wander off and go, what's going on? Why is he upset? So they need to know some, they don't need to know all.
Yeah. I want her to want to let me watch football from September to February every year. I want her to want that for me.
No interruptions.
And snacks. Excuse me. Yeah. But any other points on this question that you want to touch on, you think? Anything else? If not, I want to touch on what Nick started. I think he's in my notes, but I want to go on to another heavy topic for us. So, but to move on to that, you want to answer this question any further?
Well, real quick, answering to that we absolutely do need brothers, but then that also brings up another issue with brothers as well. And I say that because that's been one of my problems. And with that, we still talking about respect, but what also comes into loyalty, because there are some brothers out there that can weaponize that against you as well. The old song, Double Crosser, smile in your face, and all the time they want to take your place. So yeah, just throw that out there. So
all right, well, you setting the table for us, because this one got a little weight to it. But I'm not going to ask you guys why you think many men struggle with deep relationships. I want to talk about how you guys see that, how you've been seeing it. Because I know that some of you got friends, Bebe and Bobo from back in the day, and those are your friends and everything, but we're going to exclude them today because that's not, you were still in your formative years trying to figure out who you were, and you attached to folks that maybe perhaps weren't best for you, and you put that to the side. As adults, have you reckoned yourself to the fact that you need deep friendships in your life, and have you done anything to show the evidence of that? Did that make sense?
Yeah.
As an adult, okay. Somebody speak to that real quick.
As an adult, I definitely have realized that I need to make connections. It was actually something me and my wife has spoken about. The other thing is I haven't really found any of my peers as far as people that I connect with at this day and age. Well, I see you making that face to you. Well, what I mean is,
but man, you sure you want to say that?
Yeah, I do want to say that. Well, what I mean is everybody that I connect with, there's a reason for it. Everybody that I've been connect with, they're normally older than me. And the reason for that, I think also is because the relationship between me and my father was not there. It's something that we're now beginning to build. So it's certain things that I need from an older man to teach me or to show me that wasn't there. So I seem to gravitate to someone that's a little more wiser than I am, that have been what I've been. And I've kind of, that has become my circle. And yeah, and I definitely need that, especially on the spiritual aspect. Like I was just speaking of, even when I look at my grandfathers, none of them were spiritual. They had great attributes. They taught me certain things. But when it came to being the priest of the home, leading the family godly, I have no example of that whatsoever. So it's like I'm reaching out for that now, and that's what I've been gravitating toward. And I just happen to realize, like, most of the people that I connect with, They're anywhere from 5 to 15 years older than me at this stage in life. So,
Okay.
How old are you, brother?
I'm 42 currently.
Okay.
I'll be 43 in November.
RL, thank you for sharing that, brother. That was deep.
Yeah.
What I would say is as I get older, I try to lessen my circle because it's quality over quantity. And brother T.O. and I had this conversation in person, and we talked about after a while, you get to an age and people tell you who they are. Like when somebody tells you who they are, listen. And you have to be careful. And RL, I guess this goes to you too, and it sounds like you're doing it, is be careful who you put in that circle. Because, as we open up or we try to open up to people as men, when Nick said brothers, a brother could be from blood or not. But if you consider someone a brother, make sure that you define what a brother is to you before you go searching for a brother, if that makes sense. Because then when you find that brother figure or that father figure, they meet that criteria that you need.
All right. Who's up next? Deep friendships with other men. That's what we're talking about.
I'll jump on that, man. First and foremost, man, I've been taking a lot of notes, and I've learned to try to listen more than talk, because
I
I'm
love
the
you.
lot.
Too.
Yeah, I love you too, brother. But no, I'm just saying. I mean, listening to the first question and sitting here really reflecting and asking myself, man, how have I, maintained my marriage over all these years, my relationship? And for those that know my wife and I, and if you don't, my wife is also a Marine. And we met at Paris Island, South Carolina as drill instructors, right? So the dynamics of our relationship, when you start talking about respect, you start talking about love, you start talking about character. We've had our jousting matches when it comes to that. And emotionally, I've never had a issue with being emotional and talking to her about how the hell I feel. And I think a lot of that for me is, as a young man, I love hip hop. I used to write, a lot of raps and making music with friends. So that expression of being able to write a lot and be able to express my feelings on paper through something as simple as writing raps. As I begin to grow older, I realized that, man, I sometimes I feel like the woman in the dang on relationship, because I'm spewing out, like the good brother Nick said, I'm the one that's spewing out. And sometimes my wife, she looking at me quiet as heck, like, man, are you done? But what I've learned is that, man, a closed mouth doesn't get fed, bro. And I think every relationship, obviously, as we all brothers know, every relationship's different, man. Like I said, my wife, she's a Marine, bro. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that in oh, all Marines are these crazy hardcore. No, I'm not saying, but I know my wife, bro. When it comes to those certain attributes that she possesses, it's many years had us like this. And the only reason why that woman is upstairs right now with my children is because the grace of God, man. That's the only reason. And me humbling myself and going back to the question the gentleman asked in the chat, do we look at ourselves too much and expect them to read our mind? I looked at that from the flip side too. It's like the less I looked at myself, the worse my relationship was. Because I was saboteuring myself, in terms of, so many other things that I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but this is a conversation, man, that I'm telling you, fellas, man, like I've seen it, and up. I just wrote it down. How have we been seeing why men struggle? The question you asked you. I was at a conference earlier this year in March called the Winning Circle Conference with Dr. Myron Edmonds here in Atlanta, Georgia. And man, it was probably about 500 men. We broke out into separate rooms and we did role playing. And the role playing was, what would you say to your father right now if you had the opportunity to? Whether you had a broken relationship with your father, or like me, I'm a PK, I'm a preacher's kid. I've been in, my father's alive to this day, and he's been in my life my entire life. Either which way, what would you say to your father right now? And it was so amazing. The things I wrote down was, Dad, I wish you would have taught me more about things outside of the church, about things, that I gravitated to because I didn't see in the home. I chased women. I smoked dope. I did everything I possibly could that I didn't see at home. Versus many other men were full-blown tears, gentlemen, like, hey, you left me, you abandoned me. I don't know how to be a man. I don't know how to treat my wife. I don't know how to talk to my wife. I'm numb towards my kids. So many different aspects that happened in that room. And the key word, and I'll pass the mic, gentlemen, was abandonment. So looking at these conversations with our spouses, I challenge you, man. Look at the abandonment in your life. Because even for me, yeah, my father was physically there, but when I really started digging into the abandonment, gentlemen, I was abandoned from a lot of things that I gravitated to. Sort of like my brother was saying in the middle, you're gravitating to older guys that have a lot of wisdom and can talk to you about what it is to be married, sustain relationships over time. But abandonment, gentlemen, that's a big one.
Thank you, Tio. I appreciate you sharing that, man. That's good stuff right there. Who's next, man? Deep relationships, deep friendships with other men. That's where we at right now.
Are we saying, is it needed or is it had? What's really the question?
Well, as an adult, do you fully embrace the idea of that? And are you doing that right now?
Okay. Well, I appreciate what everybody else shared. I got it. Thank you. Appreciate what everybody shared. I promise I'm not trying to be polemical. I have a different vantage point. Y'all heard this before. If y'all were on the last one, sorry, I'm bad with faces. But if y'all didn't, I bring up my orphan story a lot because if you know the orphan kid, you know me. Anything that I do now is an extension of that broken kid that was abandoned. So abandonment, I definitely relate to. Still affects me to this day. But I gotta say, I'm different now because when I was growing up, I was the only kid that was not in a room with a blood relative, like no brother, no sister, no uncle, no aunt, no grandma, nobody. I was the only kid at all times that never had anybody. So why do I bring that up? That made me obsess over relationships, like good ones, toxic ones. Hey, if we was cool, you're my brother for life, or if we were cool, you're my sister for life. And I moved like that. I acted like that. I took all types of unfair treatment and fast forward, right? So now I look back and I walked away from like 15 guys that I called my brothers growing up in a small town called Immokalee, Florida. If you don't know Edrin James, or if you don't know the casino, you don't know Immokalee, Florida. But so all we had was one middle school, one high school. So the people that you've seen in elementary, most likely you're gonna see in middle school and high school in that small town. You can hold your breath and drive through it, right? So I gave my life to friendships because that was an extension of a family that I would never have, right? So now I look back and fast forward, and I had to walk away from those friendships. Why? Because I started walking with Christ and they didn't. Now, I have many friends now that are not Christians and we get along fine, right? But I think there's certain personality types and certain types of people that feel like you can have the freedom to believe whatever you believe as long as it doesn't disagree with my beliefs. And I'm going to force you to believe what I believe, but don't force me to believe what you want to believe. That was them. And I was like, no, right? Like, nah. Any type of friendships, any type of relationship requires some type of mutual understanding and respect. Even strangers. We drive on roads all the time. On the left side is a stranger you're never going to meet that's going the opposite direction, that's separated by those dotted or solid lines. They have a responsibility to stay on their lane. You have a responsibility to stay on their lane, on your lane. So even with strangers, there's like a mutual respect. So I'd be heavened. I almost said something else. I'd be heavened if I'm gonna be in a relationship with so-called brothers or anybody, and they're gonna tell me that I can't express myself an opinion, but you can. And then so it got to that dynamic, and I said, I appreciate the memories, deuces. So the point that I'm trying to wrap up with is I'm not looking for those type of friendships anymore. Like, what did that get me? Like, we went to parties, we played Madden, we had some good memories, we played sports. Great. It's awesome. I don't care about those friendships anymore, to be real with you. Like, if it comes in a process of me trying to create some generational wealth for my only blood relative, my son, who turns 4 in 6 days, if it comes in a process of me and my ministry and generational wealth and providing and trying to use my gift that God gave me to reach the people that he wants me to reach in this world, if those friendships come in the process of that, fine. But it's not going to come over Madden and games and just talking anymore. It's going to come because we're moving in a direction that God has called us, or our purpose has called us to move. And we happen to have some things in kind, like in similar beliefs, or even if we have different beliefs, we're able to coexist in a space and mutually be beneficial to each other, fine. But I just don't look at the best friendships. And mind you, it's hard for me to say because I love to the end. You know what I mean? Like to a detriment. But I just don't have that space in my heart anymore. And I just don't. I personally don't believe. And I seen this even when I was younger. It might have been my story that caused me to go deeper than most. I haven't met a lot of people that can go as deep in friendship as I can. I'm not saying that I'm whatever. I'm just saying look, friendship to me is not just about sharing your victories. Friendship to me is saying, hey, I'm Clark Kent in this moment, not Superman. And I need to get this out to my brother that's not going to judge me. And I'm not trying to be no one for the world. I'm not trying to fake it for the world. I'm not trying to act like I got it all together. This is who I am as I am. And this is why I want to see in you. But a lot of people, one, don't feel the need to go there, don't desire to go there, or don't think friendships need to go that deep. And that's fine. I just that doesn't interest me then, the superficial type of friendship. You know what I mean? So it's like I moved past that. All this to say I've kind of moved past the idea of best friends, but great business partners, sure. great ministry leaders or collab, yeah, awesome. But the idea of friendship, I don't know. I don't see it the same way anymore.
Okay, anybody else? Deep friendships with other men.
Yeah, an area that we had to really learn about, and my wife and I did it together, is boundaries. And
Okay.
with boundaries, we found that it was difficult to find friends that were at a similar spiritual level, because that was really our first qualification. If we were going to have someone close to us, we were going to have someone or couple or even a male friend, female friend for her that was at a very similar place spiritually. And that's the close in friends, because boundaries, you can have a boundary way out there, and you do have people that are acquaintances. You have people that are a little bit closer. You have some that are closer, and there may be one or two that meet the various qualifications. First of all, they're safe. Secondly, for us, they're at a similar spiritual level. We have similar interests. That's hard to find. When you start to get those qualifications, we found it very hard to find. And some may have 2 or 3 out of the 5, but it's hard to find that much like-mindedness. So it's not that we don't have any friends. We have 1 or 2 that are pretty close in, but first of all, they have to be at a very similar spiritual level. And one thing that we always say, if you stand up on a table and you try and pull someone up, it's really hard, but they can pull you off the table really easily. So when you have someone at a different spiritual level or not spiritual at all, I'm not saying we don't have friends that are not Christians, because how do we evangelize otherwise? You got to have some, but there's a boundary, right? How close do you let non-Christian friends in? There's got to be a boundary, and that's how we've always felt, to where we have a relationship with them, and we hopefully have opportunities to preach the gospel to them and minister to them. And then over time, maybe they'll come in closer, maybe they won't. But we always talk in terms of those boundaries, and that boundary that's in really close, there's not many people there, very, very few. Maybe one or two men I can think of in my life that are there, and that's only very recently. Most of my life they weren't. So we're just really choosy. We're just really, really choosy with those deep relationships.
No, that's what. Before somebody else jumps in, I want to just share something real quick, and I want to let somebody else have a shot at this. Honestly, and I mean this with all due respect. I'm trying to be incendiary and get likes and stuff. That's not what I do, man, at all. I just speak from the heart. It's in New York, and it comes out. Can't stop it. It's uncontrollable. But there are times as men, well, I speak for myself, I won't generalize. There's been times where I have convinced myself that me not wanting to have deep relationships and to be vulnerable was kind of my call. It's something that I decided. It was my decision. No trauma, no hurt, no distrust, no unforgiveness. It was just me deciding that I wasn't going to do that anymore, because I didn't have to have so many other important things in life I need to be focusing on. And honestly, for me, that wasn't reality. It's a reality I tried to create. I tried to construct one, but it wasn't reality. And it kept me from dealing with the hurt. It kept me dealing with the source of the pain. And I've done that, and this is, I say, recent enough that it's still fresh. I can remember it, but it was recent enough that I realized that, you know what, the real enemy is not all that's going on in my life, and the people doing what they're doing is partly how I view myself, the lies that I believe as a young person, and then my not dealing with the trauma at hand. That I was still hurt. I still put up walls because I didn't trust people. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's not what love looks like. I mean, Jesus not only sat down, but took bread and then laid down and closed his eyes and went to sleep with somebody who was not down for him at all.
Man, teach.
That's what love looks like.
Yeah, man.
It ain't got nothing to do with how you feel. At the end of the day, love, if you break it all the way down, it's a commitment. And when I was committed to being healed and being whole and having valuable, deep relationships in my life, you can't believe how I saw it. The same people I was looking at, I can't trust that. I can't open myself up to that. The relationships are they're blossoming right now. And what changed? They didn't really change. They're kind of in the same spot they were before. The only common denominator is that I changed how I saw stuff. But just want to throw it out there, just thought could be important. But any other thoughts about the deep relationships and with other men? And are we embracing that? Are we seeing the value of it? Even if you're not there yet, do you see the value of it? Kind of speak to some of that before we move on to the next and final thing for tonight. Go ahead.
I think about this guy right here. I don't know if you can see it, but his name is Victor. He lives out in Los Angeles, California. You probably can't see what he's doing, but he's actually washing feet. His whole mission is called Give Soap. Give soap, like give hope, give soap. But out on Skid Row, him and his wife, they set up shop with buckets and they wash feet of, the people on Skid Row. And I tell you, you're talking about something very touching. And this guy was a millionaire. He became a millionaire with Airbnbs out in Los Angeles, start living the high life. I made it. And then boom, the enemy crashed him down. He owed people money, just all sorts of chaos. And he said that the Lord thy God told him, I want you to go to Skid Row and humble yourself and wash feet. And he said he fought with it, and finally he just did it. And man, to see how his organization has grown is amazing. But I look at that, and then that's a guy that I want to know, man. That's a guy that I want to look at in the face and say, bro, like I've seen Skid Row with my own eyes. Being around the country, being around the globe as a Marine, I've seen a lot of different places, but nothing I've seen can top what I saw at Skid Row. And to know that he's out there sacrificing himself, that's real love. And that's what I think about. I think about men like that. There's as Chaps was saying, I know a lot of cats that, are not Christian. I know a lot of cats that, are battling internal battles. I'm a coach. So if I look at it from the standpoint of, well, this particular person is this, or this particular person is that, again, am I doing God's will? Because the Lord, as we all know, man, the Lord was bold, man. Just like every one of us on this call, we're bold, and we learning from each other. And again, I agree with gentlemen up top, man, with the boundaries, in relationships. That's something I'm actually trying to work on right now. But all in all, I'm just looking at it from that standpoint, man. These relationships that we're dealing with, because let's be 100, man. It's relationships that's ended in the last week solely off of Charlie Kirk. Let's be 100. It's individuals out there right now that, because I rock with Charlie Kirk and you don't rock with Charlie Kirk, I don't no longer rock with you. And you're talking about individuals that have long, illustrious history together. Individuals that are godfathers to children, and all of these conversations I've been having in the last week and being asked, hey, Coach T.O., what do you think? What do you think? And it's like, man, it's division.
Yeah.
Whichever way we could look at division. When I look at this screen, I don't see division. Nick doesn't look like me. But again, I love Nick. He's here for a purpose. He's here for a reason. And if he could look at this screen to all the people out there right now that's watching, and he could say, man, I love the Lord. I'm not perfect. Yeah, I need a partner that I could talk to. I'm at a place to where I can't talk to the wife. I don't know how to talk to the wife, but I could go on and on, gentlemen. I don't want to belabor, but it's man, this right here. Thank you, Yusef Marshall, because I'll end it with this. In Philadelphia a month or so ago, inside that room, well, not Philly, but New Jersey, right across the bridge. Your wife, shout out to your wife, Yusef Marshall. She stopped me in my tracks, and she embraced me, and she said, "I could see something in you. You have a different type of spirit." And she said, "And you held back when you were speaking a little bit ago. You got so much more in you." And it was like, as soon as she said it, I said, "Yeah, you're right." I couldn't even deny it. But again, it's a blessing to know that, just being able to meet your spouse, man, and knowing the backbone that you have, Yusef, it's important. So please tell your wife I said what's up, man. Please.
As soon as we offer this call, she offer hers. I make it happen, man. She loves you anyhow, man. She talks about you quite often from that time, and she remembers that same word, and she thinks very highly of you, brother. So thank you for saying that, man.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the deep friendship front? Honestly, I probably don't have enough time to really get into this, and I regret that. But any thoughts about it? Is it an area that you think is valuable to you right now? Do you see the value of having that? Even if you don't have it, do you see that it's worth? I mean, talk to me about that a little bit before we get out of here, man. Go ahead.
I think it has a huge value.
Okay.
It's in particularly, we were just talking about iron sharpening iron, right? I mean, the way we do that is through community with other men, which, man, again, wife and 4 daughters. I cherish men in my life. Like, I literally cherish. And in fact, I pray about it all the time. And so sometimes I think it's interesting when we're open to the idea, regardless of our past, if we can let that go. And I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I ride motorcycles. It's just a hobby of mine. I love it around here in the city, and I just wanted somebody new to ride with. I'm like, there's something out there. So I'm going to bed and praying about it and not being selfish. When I pray for truth. And so I brought up the idea of having another, meeting somebody in my life that I could enjoy motorcycles with, and whatever the truth is what I ask God for. And no exaggeration at all. The next morning I have a networking event. I leave the networking event. I have to pee so bad that I stop at this coffee shop, which I would normally not have. I'm on my motorcycle. I go in, order a coffee because I don't want to take advantage of the place, order the coffee, pee. And as I walk out, a gentleman walks right up to me and he says, "Is that your motorcycle outside?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I parked right next to it." He's like, "My name's Dan. I'm 50 years old and I've never rode a motorcycle in my life." Literally, just out of nowhere. And to look at Dan or to hear Dan, or I don't know. I could have put my list together and try to kind of filter through that, but I realized, like in an instant, like I prayed for this, and so I'm going to find a way to participate because I really think this is divinity, and I did, and I didn't understand his background and nothing, and we sat and had coffee, and 2 days later we rode like 2 hours up into the mountains together, and he's an incredible guy. A lot of honesty. I have a podcast, and he told me point blank that he thought my perspective on this particular issue was shallow, not condescendingly, but in a way that men can say that. And I love it. I don't need to be in a sound chamber. I cherish somebody with the courage to come out and be like, I think I have this opinion and I'm willing to share it with you. And I'm just like, that's amazing. Please tell me more. Tell me why it's shallow. Like, I want to understand because I want to serve people. And if a brother's going to come up to me and tell me it's something that nobody else is going to have the courage to say to me, then man, there's a value there that is very hard to replace.
That's real.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If anybody else, if not, we'll move on to our final question for the night. Anything else on the deep friendship thing? I'm gonna bring it back up next month and the month after that. So we can avoid it if you want to, but we ain't done with it.
I think I've got one last little point on here, and it's really I think personally I'm going through a struggle because I see and have seen in my life the deep value of it, but also being vulnerable, I've been deeply hurt and deeply cut, by allowing people that I thought had my back, and then when push came to shove, they shoved me in the back. And so it's been tough because it's like, man, like Mike says, like, hey, have that criteria. Well, these people had that criteria, but they hid that knife that they put in the back of me.
Oh, wow.
And so it's difficult. And I think that with what Chaplain said and what T.O. said and what Adam said and everything, it all works together, unfortunately, because that's the way this world is that we need that. Because I've seen the goodness, I've seen the fruit, I've seen how God works through others, because the Bible even tells us we have to be in community with one another. We have to. This faith is not to be done alone. That's right. Yet, the sin in this world pushes us to want to be alone because we don't want to get hurt anymore. Because vulnerability comes the unfortunate opportunity for both growth and amazing things that God can do with it. And then also vulnerability brings that chance of destruction and hurt and pain. But we have to remember that no matter what, God can use all things for good, for his glory and for the good of those who love him. And I think that verse right there is what keeps me pressing on to go, you know what? That person hurt me. Well, you gonna get a boundary, like John said. No more. You lost that. But now that gives me an opportunity to let somebody else prove me wrong and prove themselves right. And so that's the hope I maintain. That if Christ can be my hope, that there is still hope also in humanity. I don't know. That's what I'm holding on to.
Oh, I love it, man. That's good, man.
That's good.
Final question. You guys can keep it to a sentence. You ain't gotta, go into a lot and anything, but I want to ask this question because I really feel like this is the kind of stuff that the listeners and the watchers are like, okay, they're hearing stuff, but sometimes they want to kind of hear some of the real. You guys been real tonight the whole night, so it's not really a question with that. But what's one area of relational healing you're still working on, but you want to overcome it? That'd be prefaced that way to make sure we're still working on it. And I'm just saying, I want something, but I ain't doing no work. So that's why it was prefaced that way. What's one area of relational healing you are still working on, but want to overcome? Everybody across the board, maybe just in a sentence, however you can do it. And then we'll go ahead and get out of here. Go ahead. Who's up first?
Okay, I'll go first and try to make this real quick. One area I would say is tearing down walls and building that trust, mainly because of past trauma as far as hurt and feeling of the abandonment, holding on to the lie that I wasn't good enough based on my father not being there and feeling abandoned, that I didn't even realize I was holding until June of this year at the men's conference. So that affected all my relationships, not even knowing it. So I'm still working on tearing those walls down and allowing people in because I didn't really trust anybody. And like Nick said, I look to Christ in that, because if he can have Judas around, knowing Judas was going to betray him, I can allow myself to be out there a little bit, because sometimes that betrayal pushes you into your destiny. But I'm gonna leave it at that because I don't want to talk too long.
I ain't dropping my mic, it's too expensive, but you can.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that, brother. Yeah, you took the words right out my mouth. That's what I was gonna say. I'm that I am not enough. That's the lie that keeps replaying in my mind. And I know now as a therapist that your trauma kind of traps you, right? That's what leads to you acting the same way in every relationship, because you're trapped in your trauma. And what we tend to do as humans is we're just gonna bury and let enough time pass. But I mean, you could turn your back on a fire that's burning. That enough time, that don't mean that the fire won't be burning. So, yeah, man, I've actually read. I just finished reading this book called "Victory Over the Darkness." It's a book about our identity in Christ. But I just got to remind myself that I'm an orphan to God. I'm a son of God, and not the biography that He allowed me to have to sharpen me and to mold me to His purpose. I gotta remind myself of that, and it has followed me in a lot of relationships. In my marriage, I never felt like I was truly really loved. My friendships, I never felt like they would love me past what I can do for them. And if you throw being a husband, a father, and all the responsibilities you have to do, that's just based around provision instead of just seeing you and just who you are is enough, is very very challenging. So I'm making a conscious effort to wake up every day and tell myself affirmations. I am enough. And while I fall short, God has given me another day to kind of sharpen myself so that I can become more and more into His image. So it's tough though, man. It's tough. And I feel like there's a sense of being hard on ourselves here. And I just want to speak to that really briefly. Like there is no other relationship that forms neurons in our brains scientifically than the relationships between your parents or your caregivers. Like we call it attachment theory in the clinical field. You've probably heard of that term. So I just don't want us to have like a spirit of, man, why I can't overcome this, or why is this still this, or why is it still. It's because there's so many neurons that's been formed for decades. Like it's hard. It's like some people probably have a habit of drinking coffee. Stop drinking coffee for 60 days. Let's see how that works out for you. You probably turn into someone that's probably kidnapping people. Hey, give me some coffee. Like I'm just saying, it's hard to break a habit as such as coffee. So imagine the neurons that's been formed in our brain. So I just want us to be a little bit more encouraged and have more grace for ourselves, man.
Hey man, good stuff, chap. Thank you. Who's next?
Real quick, when we talk about healing, sometimes it's about changing our perspective. We don't always know what's right or wrong or good or bad in the moment, right? People ask me all the time, well, is this good or bad news? And I tell them, I'm not arrogant enough to know the answer. That's God knows that. I don't. My job is to experience it. So for a quick example, we talk about Judas. Technically, one perspective is Judas betrayed Christ, right? Another perspective is he carried a message that allowed the happenings to occur that were Christ's purpose. If it weren't for Judas, what happens to the crucifixion? What happens to the resurrection? What happens to the ascension? Now, so there's a, you know what I mean? So one way is he's a a cutthroat, dirty guy, and another way is, well, We could say that, but he also facilitated Christ dying for sin. Just a perspective, that's all.
Definitely, Adam. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Who's next?
One of the things that I'm working on is being intentional with my relationships. The relationships that I say are important to me, the people that are closest to me, am I intentional? Do I reach out to them? Do I prioritize my time well? Because if they are important relationships, then I need to make the effort and not just wait for them to come to me, which sometimes doesn't happen at all. So I need to be the one that initiates, that's intentional, and puts the effort in to the relationships. So that's what I'm working.
Thanks, John. That's good stuff. All right, who's next? Hurry up.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
No, you go, Tio. You go first.
appreciate you, brother. One area of relational healing I'm working on is simple listening.
It is simple, but we struggle to do it though.
Big time.
Oh my goodness. All right, Mike or Nick, you guys. Oh, I guess it's gonna be Mike.
Yeah, mine is just communication with my spouse and my kids, like intentful communication. John, you hit it right, like just tonality. Actually, Nick, you said it too when you were like, like I said it like this, but maybe I should say it like this. Like being intentful with the tone and taking that seriously. Even though it doesn't mean much to me, it does mean a lot to my wife. So I do need to be more mindful of that.
Thanks for the transparency, Mike. That's pretty good stuff, man. Nick, looks like you're the one that's going to have the mic before you drop it.
I was kind of being quiet because I felt like my last comment really was also answering this too.
We can move on. It's okay.
So I'll end on this humor part, and I think Tio, you brought it up with communication, really listening. That listening part. This happened today. My wife decides to tell me a story about how, and I don't know, my dad just sitting at home. He likes watching Dancing with the Stars, and then they bring up like the show, The Mormon Wives, and I guess there's two on there, and I'm trying to recall the conversation, and then she jumped over to a different show where there's another Mormon wife on it. I think it's the Bachelor, or as you can tell, I did not listen that well already, but it's like a subject that I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about any of that. Like, none of that matters. But if I really listened, it wasn't about, am I interested in these like shows and like the trash that's on it? That's not what it's about. It's about, my wife wants to have a moment of connection with me, even though the subject may be really stupid. It's about the moment with my wife. And I missed it. And I'm learning that now, and that the listening is about the moment with her. The subject may be dumb, really dumb, but that's not how she sees it. She sees it as, I have a moment to connect with you in between running around and the kids and you being in your office and this and that, and when you're home and when you're not home and blah, blah, blah. I want a moment. Even if you don't like the subject, it's just a moment I get to have with you. And I think that's what I'm trying to internalize so much more with the listening. So thanks for bringing that up, Tio. You got
that's what I wanted to say. So you spoke it 100%.
There we go. So that's my funny show, but heartful story to end this all.
No, it's good, man. I ain't gonna make the waters muddy no more this time. And on a high note, but I just want to say this to all you guys that are on this panel, even those that are watching and listening that have been on previous panels or are thinking about doing so. Just want to encourage you guys, man, that there's opportunities to kind of put this trust thing into action. You know where they are, and you can see them. They may not be on the screen. They might be. You guys have to figure it out for yourself, but take advantage of that. Go for it, man. I mean, you don't catch no fish until you throw that line out there. Go for it. And secondly, one of the visions for this podcast, one of the main reasons why I knew it was God breathed, was because we have an opportunity where you live. Some of you in Philly, in Charleston, Charlotte area, Georgia. Y'all walk past 3 to 5 men every day. And guess what they got? The same kind of issues you got. My prayer, my hope, and I hope that you guys take hold of this and run with this with me. I sure can't do it by myself. You know what I'm saying? It's begin to start looking at the areas that you're at and start reaching out to 1, 2, 3 people. Reach out to a couple of people who may be in the same spot and set up a place, an area where even if it's not your home, maybe a coffee shop somewhere, the back room of a restaurant, something, and begin to start building that, because that's what this is about. That's why we do this once a month and not once a week. We need time to start working this stuff out that we talk about. So please take advantage of the opportunity. That's the vision for this show. That's why we're doing this. I don't care if we have 1,000 downloads and 1 million likes. I'm not in it for that. That's not why we're here. You know what I'm saying? Every panelist has an opportunity to reach out to some people who are in their neck of the woods, who need what we need and what we're getting. So help somebody else out with that. All right, man. We are out of here. I'm just kidding, Mr. Shell. Thank you, brother. All right. Well, we're getting a lot of love and comments coming through, but thank you guys for jumping in here and talking about this tough topic. I know we didn't even crack. I probably had 3 more hours worth of notes in front of me easily. So we're going to come back and revisit this again in a future broadcast. But thank you guys for all you're doing. Nick, John, Adam, Rod, Mike, Chap, Tio. Love you guys. Appreciate you so much. Keep on spreading the message. Keep on reaching out and promoting what you've been getting, what you've been receiving. Help those men out. Love you guys. Thanks for doing what you're doing. All the watchers and listeners, we're already live, so we're on most of the social media platforms, all the listening platforms. Within the hour, we'll be ready to roll so you can hear us while you're doing laundry and jogging and whatnot. Thanks again for watching and listening. Men's Roundtable should be podcast. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yo.